You know, I used to think it was just incompetence. That the games are bad because they just don't have the talent. That they could make mobile games, handheld games, but they just don't have the skills to make a good console game. But with the announcement of Beast of Reincarnation, Game Freak's new game, it is clear to me now that this is malice. They don't make bad Pokemon games because they lack the skill. They do it because they hate Pokemon, and they don't want to make it anymore. And they hate you for making them make Pokemon games. With the announcement of a new game that is higher quality than their flagship franchise, that is worth more than every other IP on the planet, it can no longer be denied that something is functionally wrong with Game Freak. Sure, they've made other games before. They've made smaller titles, Little Town Hero, Giga Wrecker, Pocket Card Jockey Ride On, small titles of similar quality or even worse than the Pokemon games. But this is different. Now they're making a real AAA game of AAA quality. Just look at it. The game's gorgeous. And then look at Scarlet and Violet. I love these games. They're fun, but it looks like shit. It looks like they made it on a budget of $12. And I'm not saying the new Pokemon games should look like Beast of Reincarnation, that they should look like a high-budget Unreal game, but they could maybe shoot for, I don't know, Breath of the Wild. If you can make something that looks like this, you can make something that looks like Breath of the Wild. But no, we get shit. Look at how bad this looks. Just side by side. Look at Scarlet and Violet and Breath of the Wild, and you cannot tell me those are the same thing. And graphical quality is just the tip of the iceberg. Pokemon is rotten to the core. Down to every last detail is laziness. It is not ignorance. It's not lack of skill. It is laziness. Just look at the new designs. They don't even look like Pokemon anymore. And this isn't Gen 5 doesn't look like Gen 1. It's that Pokemon within the same generation don't even look similar to each other. They look like they don't fit in with Pokemon. They look like they fit in a different series. Look at Sojourner, the fucking Stonehenge with a smiley face on it. This fits better in a cartoon than it does Pokemon, and you cannot tell me they put effort into this. That it took years for them to hone their craft, thousands of designs under their belt, all culminating into a couple of rectangles with a smiley face drawn on. It is clearly drawn on. This is not a mouth. It is someone taking a pencil and writing on a rock. And don't bring up Geodude. Geodude has actual details. It has eyebrows and a chin, fucking hands. The eyes are sunken in. It's not a flat texture. And this probably isn't even the worst one. Bramblin? Is this even alive? Are those supposed to be eyes? It definitely doesn't have a mouth of any kind. What? Pokemon are supposed to be your friends. How do you befriend the fucking potted plant? There is a clear difference between Oddish with a face and a mouth, or Roselia with a face and a mouth, and a literal fucking ball that maybe has eyes. Maybe. And Gimmighoul, yeah, maybe the design is better than the last two, but it's not a Pokemon. It's a mimic from any other game. You know, Pokemon already had mimics. It was called Electrode, and it was Pokemon themed. And they did it again with Amoonguss, and it's Pokemon themed because it's pretending to be a Pokeballs, because that's what Pokemon's version of chests are. They're Pokeballs. No, now it's just a chest, even though chests aren't in Pokemon. You can't fucking find chests in Pokemon. This design should be for a different game. I do still think it looks like shit, by the way, but I'm just saying that that's not the point. It gets worse, by the way. Gimmighoul's evolution, this is a Fortnite skin. If this appeared in Fortnite tomorrow, no one would question it. In Impidimp, look at this guy. You can't tell me this isn't a Dragon Quest character. I know Gen 1 copied off Dragon Quest, but this is just blatant. The strange thing about these designs that clearly don't fit in is they're eerily similar to the beta designs leaked previously. You know, before they said it'd take months to make one single Pokemon, and now I believe it, to go over it many times to make sure it fits with everything else and it looks good. Because if you look at the beta designs, they are shitty in the exact same ways as the modern designs. That is, except for Scarlet and Violet. Because Scarlet and Violet has adopted a new problem. Pokemon are clearly designed to be easy to 3D model. I think originally, one of Pokemon's greatest strengths is that they were easy to draw. Now, the designs are easy to 3D model. Just look at Spidops. It's just a bunch of cylinders. Look at Dunsparce, a bunch of spheres stuck together. Fido, another Pokemon that's just a bunch of spheres. I could 3D model this in 15 seconds. It's ridiculous. Just look at the Pokédex of Scarlet and Violet. Nearly every Pokemon is made up entirely of spheres and cylinders. The easiest things to do in a 3D modeling program, and it has clearly affected the quality. Scarlet and Violet might be the first games that I could not find a team of 6 of just new Pokemon. They look so fucking bad. I've always thought it was just a lack of time, that they want to make as much money as possible, release as many games as possible, and they don't have enough time to have high quality designs, but it's just not true. If you have time to make a AAA game that has nothing to do with Pokemon, the most valuable IP on the planet, and it won't be worth it. None of these shitty one-off games have been worth the opportunity cost of working on Pokemon. And the worst part is, the bad designs barely matter when the game looks like shit. I think everyone's brought up the tree before. It's just so descriptive with a single image. Because a tree, everyone's seen a tree before. It's in literally every game, and this is the worst one I think I've ever seen, including Nintendo 64 games. And this whole time they had the skill. They could make a tree that looks perfect. They just choose not to. And that's just the graphics. The gameplay hasn't fared much better. Sword and Shield was the first Pokemon game I could not complete. I ended up going back to it just for the DLC, but God, it's incredible how boring that game is. Pokemon used to be an adventure. Sword and Shield is a series of hallways. You literally could not get lost if you tried. You walk straight from point A, the start of the game, to point B, the very end of the game, and you never have to turn. It is horrible, except for the few open areas that basically don't matter at all and you can completely ignore. And I think they realized just how bad it was, that maybe this was just a little too lazy, because in the next games, they ignore level design entirely. And it's the better for it. They're much better games, despite having no level design at all. It's just one big open area. In this time, you make the adventure for yourself, because they couldn't be bothered to make the adventure for you. And again, the game is better for it. I like Scarlet and Violet. God, that is pathetic. Those games are certainly more fun than Sword and Shield, but they're not more stable. God, they're the buggiest Pokemon game ever released. They're some of the buggiest games released that are AAA. The only one who could probably beat them is Bethesda, games known specifically for being buggy, and it couldn't have been a lack of time. We know that. Couldn't have been a lack of talent. We know that. So it's intentional. It's malice, because they hate the player and they hate the game they're making. In fact, half of the things that make these games bad, they do on purpose just to fuck the player over. Just look at Dexit, in which they intentionally left out a bunch of Pokemon, in which they made the excuse that they just couldn't do it because it's too many designs, and we're making updated animations that all look like dog shit. They look worse than a Nintendo 64 game. And what people don't realize, who are like, I don't get it, who cares about Dexit? Because I'm one of those people. I only use the new Pokemon in each game. I don't like using the old ones anyway, but if you think about it from what Pokemon stands for, Pokemon are supposed to be your friends. So what you're sacrificing when you keep these Pokemon out is you're getting rid of your friends that you've made. And is it really worth it to sacrifice a friends for animations that look like dog shit, to play a game that looks like dog shit? We know you're fucking lying to us. And to be honest, in Sword and Shield, Dexit didn't really matter. Those games were dog shit. You shouldn't have been playing them anyway. But open world games have a very common problem with a lack of enemy variety, because you need a lot of enemies to fill a giant open world. Pokemon already has so many. It has thousands of designs. You wouldn't have to make any new ones, and you could fill the entire world. Yet somehow, Scarlet and Violet has a huge Pokemon variety problem. Every area feels the same because they are reusing the same Pokemon, which is psychotic. When they didn't update the animations, they still look like dog shit. They didn't update the models, they still look like dog shit. So why not just flood the whole fucking game with Pokemon? Well, it's so they could sell it to you. Again, for DLC. Wow, thank you, Game Freak. You really care about these games. Oh, but what about the good games? You're not talking about the good game. You know, the one that everyone likes. Legends Arceus. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't like it that much. Didn't even finish it. Don't really care, because I think it misses the point. The point of Pokemon is the Pokemon are your friends. They are pets. It's like your dog. Look, it even looks like a fucking dog. It's your friend. I don't want to catch 900 of the same guy. I can't make friends with 1,000 guys. You aren't making friends with 1,000 guys. What you do is you catch them and then you completely ignore them forever. Pokemon Go fucking destroyed Pokemon as a concept. Because now Pokemon aren't your friends, they're not your pet, it's a tool or a collectible. You literally grind your excess friends into candy, which is obviously soulless. And do I even have to talk about the story? Can we just ignore story? I'm gonna be honest, Pokemon story has never been good, so I don't really care that it's gotten worse. People say Black and White's story is the best one. I believe you. Maybe it's true. I don't really remember. Speaking of Black and White, I think that's the last time Pokemon tried. I think Black and White is the reason why we have shit games now, because they were probably the highest effort Pokemon games by a mile. People say it's the best story. It had the most new Pokemon. It had the best graphics, which is hilarious because they're 2D games. But it was the worst selling Pokemon games. The games with the most effort were the worst selling. And you know, I'm not even saying they're the best. I still think Gen 3 are the best games, but Black and White definitely have the most effort put into them, and it didn't contribute to sales. So no wonder they don't try anymore. No wonder they fucking hate you, because when they try, they don't succeed. That's why they do things, not just out of laziness, but to actively piss the player off. They want to make you mad. Just look at the Diamond and Pearl remakes. They're the worst by far, and they're the only mainline Pokemon games to be outsourced. They didn't even add the extra features from Platinum. It's not even the definitive version of the game. It's objectively the worst way to play Diamond and Pearl. This is obviously intentional sabotage. They could have just copied off of Platinum instead of Pearl. And let's just talk about all the other things that fans love that they've intentionally removed. I'm talking about features like Mega Evolutions, following Pokemon, the Battle Frontier, something they removed from the remakes because people play on their phones too much, which is an obviously absurd statement meant to piss you off intentionally. They actively take away player choice for literally no reason. You can't turn the EXP share off. Why? Just because fuck you, player. If you want the game to be harder, too bad. This is going to be the easiest Pokemon game you've ever played with the most EXP. And I love the absurdity of people saying, why would you want to grind? The fuck are you talking about? What games have you been playing? If you've had to grind in a single Pokemon game ever, you are brain dead. These games are made for babies. It's not that I don't want to grind, it's that I don't want to be over-leveled in the easiest game ever made. That's my favorite part of all this, by the way, is people defending this shit. Defending one of the most beloved IPs of all time being shit on constantly. And they say it's because they love Pokemon. Well, I just really love Pokemon. That's why I'm defending it. No, the people who love Pokemon hate that it's being killed, that it's being shit on, that it can't have good games anymore. Fuck, man, I miss spin-offs. Even if the main games weren't that good, the spin-offs were great. But we can't have those anymore. They might compete with the shitty mobile games. Because you used to be able to play Pokemon games with good animations. The spin-offs had great animations. Game Freak has been consistently outdone in almost every aspect by the spin-offs. Better animation in the GameCube games, in the N64 games, and oh, don't even talk about Battle Revolution. The game, not so great, but the animation, literally perfect. Why didn't they just hire these guys to do the animations for every other Pokemon game? Because fuck you, that's why. You want better gameplay? Look at Pokemon Coliseum, XD. These are what console Pokemon games are supposed to be. They feel like real video games, not dog shit where it looks like everything was made on Fiverr. They actually recognized how good double battles are and use them to their fullest potential. Double battles is the competitive format of Pokemon. It is official, and it is barely used in the mainline games. If you want a Pokemon game with a good story, just look at the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games. I can genuinely say I think these are the perfect children's stories. They can still be enjoyed by adults, but they are literally perfect for children. I don't think it could be done better. These are the only games I've seen do death well in a way that children can understand and not just be edgy for no reason. And we're talking about fan hate with all of these Game Freak games. The spin-offs had fan service in spades. Super Mystery Dungeon has every single Pokemon at the time in the game, and every single one that appeared in a previous game is referenced. The Alakazam in Super Mystery Dungeon isn't just any Alakazam. It is literally the Alakazam from the first game, and that is true about every single Pokemon in that game. It is incredible. Game Freak would never do anything like that because they hate you, and they hate all of their previous games. The Pokemon spin-offs were consistently better than the mainline games, and they were sacrificed for what? For shitty mobile games. You have a Pokemon MOBA that literally would have died if not for China. You have Pokemon Go, which is literal government spyware that's fun for maybe a couple hours if you don't live in a city full of bug people, that completely destroyed the idea of Pokemon, where people now don't even think of Pokemon as living creatures that are supposed to be your friends. They're shitty objects you're supposed to collect 900,000 of to grind into candy. You have literal gacha slop. I don't even think this is a game. Has anyone played this? This doesn't feel like a real video game. In fact, the only good mobile game is a copy of the Pokemon card game. And it is good. Don't get me wrong. It is good. I like it, but it's definitely dog shit. Yeah, that's totally worth it. All of the best Pokemon games ever made had to die so that we get shitty gacha slop meant to extract every dollar from you, and maybe you get one good game. This is not a black pill video. This is a white pill video, because fan games have been doing it better than Game Freak for years now. If you want Pokemon to be harder, games like Radical Red bring competitive Pokemon to the mainline games. Or, if you think that shit is for nerds, like me, you can get the good shit with Emerald Redux, which gives every Pokemon 4 abilities at the same time, with completely new move pools in the entire game balanced around this idea, with hundreds of new forms, creating one of the best autism RPGs I have ever played. I did hear they're going to ruin it in the new updates, though. So, that recommendation kind of up in the air. But if you don't care about all that difficulty shit, and you just want new Pokemon content with love and care put into it, there is not only a fan game for you, there are probably tens of games for you to try that you will love. There are true open world Pokemon games, ones with entirely new regions, or just the Pokemon world you already know and love except stitched together as an open world. There's roguelike Pokemon games. There are roguelikes that play like normal Pokemon. There are roguelikes where it's only the battles. There's a Pokemon game where you can play as a gym leader. You can play as the Pokemon. It's Pokemon Mystery Dungeon except with regular Pokemon mechanics. And that's ignoring the hundreds of Pokemon fan games that's just a regular Pokemon experience, like Red and Blue, except made today by fans for fans. If you want a game with new Pokemon, fan-made Pokemon, they have that. If you hate fan-made Pokemon, they have games that are a completely new region, but with no new Pokemon. Maybe you want something in between. There are games that are only new forms. Remember Alolan forms? The only good idea Pokemon has had in like 10 years? Well, the fan game developers recognize that too. So you have games with literally hundreds of new Pokemon forms and evolutions, because old Pokemon designs were so good and so iconic. You only have to change a little bit to get a completely new design that looks incredible. I don't think it's a coincidence that you very rarely see new Pokemon forms for new Pokemon in mainline games or in fan games. It's 'cause they look like shit. But that's besides the point. Look, Game Freak hates you, they hate Pokemon, they hate making Pokemon games, but it doesn't matter, because Pokemon will live on forever through fan games. My favorite Pokemon game isn't even made by Game Freak. It's made by Spike Chunsoft, but that's besides the point, because my second favorite would be made by fans. So I'm gonna end this video by just saying, go play some fan games. If you care about Pokemon, Game Freak can go fuck themselves. Play some fan games, maybe even make some fan games. I promise you, there's something for you. Oh yeah, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.